The Roman Empire. A brief history. From its founding in 625 BC to its fall in AD 476, the Roman Empire conquered and integrated dozens of cultures. The influence of these cultures can be seen in objects, such as oil lamps, made and used throughout the empire. The history of the Roman Empire can be divided into three distinct periods: the period of kings 625–510 BC, Republican Rome 510–31 BC, and Imperial Rome 31 BC, AD 476. Founding c. 625 BC. Rome was founded around 625 BC in the areas of ancient Italy known as Etruria and Latium. It is thought that the city-state of Rome was initially formed by Latium villagers joining together with settlers from the surrounding hills in response to an Etruscan invasion. It is unclear whether they came together in defense or as a result of being brought under Etruscan rule. Archaeological evidence indicates that a great deal of change and unification took place around 600 BC, which likely led to the establishment of Rome as a true city. Period of Kings 625–510 BC. The first period in Roman history is known as the period of kings, and it lasted from Rome's founding until 510 BC. During this brief time Rome, led by no fewer than 6 kings, advanced both militaristically and economically with increases in physical boundaries, military might, and production and trade of goods including oil lamps. Politically, this period saw the early formation of the Roman constitution. The end of the period of kings came with the decline of Etruscan power, thus ushering in Rome's Republican period. Most of what was believed about the early period of Roman history before modern archaeology comes from Titus Livius, also known as Livy, a Roman historian who lived from 59 BCE to 17 CE. Roman kings as listed by Titus Livius. Romulus r. 753–715 BCE. According to Livy, Rome was founded by the twin brothers Romulus and Remus, who soon after arriving in the area disagreed on the exact location the new settlement should be built and about the walls that would surround it. These arguments led to Romulus killing his brother and becoming the first king of Rome. Romulus then went back to his hometown to recruit new citizens for his new settlement. Most of the people who joined him were slaves, criminals and people wishing to escape their debts. Most were also male, which caused a major problem. In order to secure wives for his citizens, Romulus went to a nearby settlement inhabited by the Sabine people and after getting the men drunk, kidnapped many of their women in an event that became known as the Rape of the Sabine Women. Eventually, the two settlements agreed on a truce and the Sabine king, Tatius, co-ruled with Romulus until he died, leaving the founder of Rome as sole ruler once more. Numa Pompilius r. 715–673 BCE. Numa Pompilius was a Roman of Sabine descent and is credited with bringing cultural growth to the city. He is said to have brought the Vestal Virgins to Rome, founded religious collages, built the Temple of Janus and added the months of January and February to the calendar. His reign was a peaceful one which according to legend, he achieved by listening to his advisor, the nymph and prophetess Egeria pictured above. Tullus Hostilius r. 673–642 BCE. Tullus Hostilius is another king of Rome who may not have actually existed. He is said to have been a warrior king who used the Roman army to double the population of the city by waging war on neighboring territories. His name may even be where we get the English word hostile. He is also said to have built one of the original Senate houses, the Curia Hostilia, and added Alban nobles to the Roman Senate. Ancus Marcius r. 642–616 BCE. Ancus Marcius was the grandson of a previous king of Rome, Numa Pompilius. He was a warrior king who added territory after defeating the Latins in a number of battles and then moving many of their people to Rome to increase its population. He also expanded the influence of the city by building the first bridge across the river Tiber and founded the port city of Ostia. Tarquinius Priscus r. 616–579 BCE. Tarquinius Priscus, also known as Tarquin the Elder, was the first Etruscan king of Rome. According to legend, when he first traveled to the city an eagle circled above his chariot before swooping down and taking the cap from his head, then returned it a moment later without causing him any harm. This was an unusual way for a bird of prey to behave, so his wife, Tanaquil, prophesied it meant he would one day wear the crown. Soon after arriving in Rome, he became friends with King Ancus Marcius and became guardian to his son before going on to be crowned himself after the death of Marcius. There was much expansion under the rule of Tarquinius to Roman territory, including the conquest of the Sabines, Latins, and Etruscans. He created 100 new senators to help him rule the city, many of whom were also Etruscans. Tarquinius Priscus is believed to have established the Roman Circus Maximus for chariot racing games, built the great temple of Jupiter Capitolinus, and began the construction of a sewer system in the city known as the Cloaca Maxima. Servius Tullius r. 578–535 BCE, Servius Tullius, son-in-law of Tarquinius Priscus, unlike his predecessors, inherited the throne rather than being elected to it. He established the first census in Rome, which was used to divide the people into tribes and classes, to determine the number of representatives each area was allowed in the Senate and how many soldiers they would need to supply during times of war. He also expanded the size of the city by erecting a huge wall encircling it that measured 5 miles in circumference, surrounding all the 7 hills of Rome and protecting them with no less than 19 gates. Tarquinius Superbus r. 535–509 BCE, Tarquinius Superbus, pictured below and also known as Tarquin the Proud, was, like his two predecessors, an Etruscan king who was the son of the former king, Tarquin the Elder, and married to the daughter of Servius Tullius. He is said to have come to power by usurping the throne by having his father-in-law killed, with the help of his wife. He ruled as a tyrant, putting to death many senators that opposed him and seizing the property of many others. Eventually, there was an uprising led by Lucius Junius Brutus that was triggered when the king's son Sextus raped a noblewoman called Lucretia. His reign came to an end and he was sent into exile and then defeated when he later tried to retake the city. Influences on early Roman culture. Today it is generally believed by historians that the city-state of Rome was formed around 625 BCE by settlers from the surrounding areas in response to an invasion from the Etruscans, a highly advanced civilization situated to the north of Rome. It is not known whether this was a defensive measure or a result of Etruscan rule, though the Etruscans are known to have had a major influence on the culture of Rome. Some examples of what was learned and adapted from them include architecture such as stone temples, engineering projects such as irrigation and drainage systems, gladiatorial fighting, realistic artwork, and even the toga. The Romans were also heavily influenced by Greek colonists that settled in southern Italy, from whom they learned and adapted for their own culture the Greek gods and goddesses and other literary stories. The main language of the people came from the Latines, though the wealthy citizens of Rome tended to prefer to speak Greek. From war and interaction with their closest neighbors including the Etruscans, the Greek colonists and the Sabines, the Romans started to develop the military tactics and discipline that they would later become famous for. The military was a civilian militia at this time drawn from the population when needed, but over the period of kings, tactics, equipment and organization all saw improvement. The territories of Rome began to grow as a result, which led to economic growth and was aided by the political stability that resulted from a form of government that was not only monarchical but also relied on a group of senators for decision-making. When the reign of Tarquinius Superbus came to an end in circa 509 BCE, it brought an end to the period of kings in Roman history. From this point, kings were no longer welcome in the city-state of Rome, ushering in the period known as the Roman Republic. Republican Rome 510–31 BC. In the late 6th century BCE, the small city-state of Rome overthrew the shackles of monarchy and created a republican government that, in theory if not always in practice, represented the wishes of its citizens. From this basis the city would go on to conquer all of the Italian Peninsula and large parts of the Mediterranean world and beyond. The Republic and its institutions of government would endure for 5 centuries, until, wrecked by civil wars, it would transform into a principate ruled by emperors. Even then many of the political bodies, notably the Senate, created in the Republican period would endure, albeit with a reduction in power. Myth and legend. The years prior to the rise of the Republic are lost to myth and legend. No contemporary written history of this period has survived. Although much of this history had been lost, the Roman historian Livy 59 BCE 17 CE was still able to write a remarkable history of Rome, 142 volumes, recounting the years of the monarchy through the fall of the Republic. Much of his history, however, especially the early years, was based purely on myth and oral accounts. Contrary to some interpretations, the fall of the monarchy and birth of the Republic did not happen overnight. Some even claim it was far from bloodless. Historian Mary Beard in her SPQR wrote that the transformation from monarchy to republic was born over a period of decades, if not centuries. Prior to the overthrow of the last king, Tarquinius Superbus or Tarquin the Proud in 510 BCE, the history of the city is mired in stories of valor and war. Even the founding of the city is mostly legend, and many people have preferred the myth over fact anyway. For years Rome had admired the Hellenistic culture of the Greeks, and so it easily embraced the story of Aeneas and the founding of Rome as penned by Roman author Virgil in his heroic saga the Aeneid. This story gave the Romans a link to an ancient, albeit Greek, culture. This mythical tale is about Aeneas and his followers who, with the assistance of the goddess Venus, escaped the city of Troy as it fell to the Greeks in the Trojan War. Jupiter's wife Juno constantly interfered with the story's hero Aeneas throughout the tale. After a brief stay in Carthage, Aeneas eventually made his way to Italy and Latium, finally fulfilling his destiny. His descendants were the twins Romulus and Remus, the illegitimate sons of Mars, the god of war, and the princess Rhea Silvia, the daughter of the true king of Alba Longa. Rescued from drowning by a she-wolf and raised by a shepherd, Romulus eventually defeated his brother in battle and founded the city of Rome, becoming its first king. So the legend goes. Soon after, Rome's political atmosphere pushed the Republic into a period of chaos and civil war. This led to the election of a dictator, L. Cornelius Sulla, who served from 82–80 BC. Following Sulla's resignation in 79 BC, the Republic returned to a state of unrest. While Rome continued to be governed as a republic for another 50 years, the shift to imperialism began to materialize in 60 BC when Julius Caesar rose to power. By 51 BC, Julius Caesar had conquered Celtic Gaul and, for the first time, Rome's borders had spread beyond the Mediterranean region. Although the Senate was still Rome's governing body, its power was weakening. Julius Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC and replaced by his heir, Gaius Julius Caesar Octavianus Octavian, who ruled alongside Mark Antony. In 31 BC Rome overtook Egypt, which resulted in the death of Mark Antony and left Octavian as the unchallenged ruler of Rome. Octavian assumed the title of Augustus and thus became the first emperor of Rome. Imperial Rome 31 BC, AD 476. Rome's imperial period was its last, beginning with the rise of Rome's first emperor in 31 BC and lasting until the fall of Rome in AD 476. During this period, Rome saw several decades of peace, prosperity, and expansion. By AD 117, the Roman Empire had reached its maximum extent, spanning 3 continents including Asia Minor, Northern Africa, and most of Europe. In AD 286 the Roman Empire was split into Eastern and Western empires, each ruled by its own emperor. The Western Empire suffered several Gothic invasions and, in AD 455, was sacked by Vandals. Rome continued to decline after that until AD 476 when the Western Roman Empire came to an end. The Eastern Roman Empire, more commonly known as the Byzantine Empire, survived until the 15th century AD. It fell when Turks took control of its capital city, Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul in Turkey, in AD 1453. Thanks for watching. Subscribe my channel for more videos.